Have you ever had a secret that was so big it felt like it might burst out of your heart? Now, imagine that secret was hidden inside a royal palace for 27 long years. For the first time in a very long time, something has happened that has shocked the entire world. Usually, kings and queens keep their lives very private. They follow strict rules and never show how they truly feel. But today is different. Today, a secret has come out that changes everything we thought we knew about a famous prince and a beautiful princess. What if the story we all heard about King Charles and Princess Diana was wrong? What if there was a hidden part of their lives that nobody ever saw? We all know they had two sons, William and Harry, but there was something else. There was a hidden gift that finally arrived at the palace door. This gift made the king stop talking. It made his heart race. It was a message from the past, sent by someone who has been gone for a long time. This is not just a story about kings and queens. It is a story about a secret daughter, a lost love, and a letter that arrived 27 years too late. If you thought you knew the story of Charles and Diana, get ready, because everything is about to change. It was March 15th in the year 2024. The sun was starting to go down over the big city of London. Inside Buckingham Palace, it was very quiet. King Charles III was sitting by himself. He was in a room that used to belong to his mother, the late Queen. The room was filled with old books and gold decorations. It was a very beautiful room, but today Charles felt very tired. Being the king is a very big job. He had so many papers to sign and so many people to talk to. He felt like he was carrying the whole world on his shoulders. He looked out the window at the green trees and the tall gates. He was thinking about his life and all the years that had passed. Suddenly there was a soft knock on the heavy wooden door. A man named Sir Clive Alderton walked in. He was the king's helper. He was carrying a stack of mail that had arrived that morning. Sir Clive walked very quietly over the thick carpet. He put the letters down on the desk. But there was one thing that looked different from the rest. It was a small package. It was wrapped in light blue paper. The paper looked a bit old, like it had been sitting in a drawer for a long time. It was a simple package, but it caught the king's eye right away. Charles looked at the label on the package. He felt his heart skip a beat. His face went very pale, like he had seen a ghost. He knew that handwriting. It was very neat and pretty. It was handwriting he had not seen in a very long time. It was Diana's handwriting. Sir Clive saw that the king was acting strange. The king was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Sir Clive asked very softly if he should take the package away. He thought maybe it was making the king sad, but Charles shook his head. He spoke in a very low voice. He told Sir Clive to leave him alone and make sure nobody bothered him. When the door closed, Charles was all by himself again. His hands were shaking. He picked up the blue package. He felt a mix of being scared and being excited. He carefully tore the blue paper. Inside was a small box made of dark, shiny wood. It was a jewelry box. On the top of the box was a special symbol. It was the crest of the Spencer family. That was Diana's family. Charles touched the wood with his thumb. He remembered so many things all at once. He remembered her smile. He remembered her laugh. He remembered the way she used to walk. He opened the lid of the box. Inside, he saw a piece of paper. It was a cream-colored envelope. It looked very delicate, like it might break if he wasn't careful. On the front, there was a date, August 29th, 1997. Charles gasped. That was only 2 days before Diana died in that terrible accident in Paris. He used his shaky fingers to open the letter. He began to read. The letter said, "My dearest Charles." He felt a tear in his eye. The letter told him that if he was reading this, she was gone. She wrote that she hoped he finally understood the truth. She said that even though they had many fights and the newspapers said mean things, they never really stopped caring about each other. She said the box held a secret she could never say out loud while she was alive. She told him to open the box only when his heart was ready to remember who they used to be before the world made them change. Charles put the letter down. He had to take a deep breath. His eyes were wet with tears. As he lifted a small piece of silk inside the box, a smell filled the air. It smelled like jasmine and roses. This was the perfume Diana always wore. It was her special scent. It made the room feel like she was standing right there next to him. It took him back to the days when they were young. Back then, they weren't just a king and a princess. They were just two people who wanted to be happy. But the world was always watching them, and that made things very hard. Hidden under the silk was a small note. It was written very fast, like she was in a hurry. The note was written just a few hours before she went to Paris. It said, "Charles, I have to tell you the truth before I go. The baby I lost in December 1985 was not from someone else. She was yours. She was our third child. She was our daughter." When Charles read those words, it felt like a bolt of lightning hit him. He couldn't breathe for a second. A daughter. He had a daughter and he never knew about her. He sat there in shock. The letter went on. Diana wrote that she was too scared to tell him back then. She said that after their son Harry was born, Charles seemed very far away. She thought he was unhappy in their marriage. She didn't want to trap him with another baby. But she loved that little girl so much. She said she loved her with all her heart for the 3 months she was growing inside her. Charles sat very still. He started to think back to the winter of 1985. It was a very cold winter. He remembered that Diana had stayed inside a lot. She didn't want to go to parties or see people. At the time, Charles thought she was just being difficult. He didn't understand why she was so sad. But now he finally knew the truth. She wasn't just sad about their marriage. She was crying because she had lost their baby girl. Diana wrote that she gave the baby a name. She named her Elizabeth Rose. She named her after Charles's mother, the Queen, and after her own middle name. She said the baby was buried at her family home, Althorpe, under a small stone that said, "Beloved Daughter." Charles looked further into the box. He found a small white gold locket. He had never seen it before. He opened the locket. On one side, there was a picture of him and Diana when they were very young. They were both smiling and looked very happy. It was a picture from a time before they started to have problems. On the other side of the locket was a very small, blurry picture. It was an ultrasound. It was a picture of the baby girl. Charles started to cry. The tears ran down his face and fell onto the picture. He felt so much pain in his heart. He had missed out on knowing his own daughter. Then he found one more envelope. It said, "Read this last." Inside were pages from Diana's private diary. These were the things she wrote in the weeks before she died. One entry was from July 15, 1997. She wrote about how she was thinking about Charles again. She said she was tired of being the person the world wanted her to be. She wanted to be the real Diana. She said she was sorry for being angry. She said she should have fought for him instead of fighting against him. These words hurt Charles deep inside. Then he read the most important part. Diana wrote, "The truth is, Charles, I never stopped loving you." This was not the Diana that everyone saw on TV. This was not the famous woman in the beautiful dresses. This was a woman who was being honest and brave. She was taking the blame for her mistakes. Charles had never seen her be this strong before. She wrote that she knew about the letters he had written to her after they broke up. She asked him why he never sent them. She asked why they both let their pride get in the way of the truth. Charles felt a tightness in his chest. He did remember those letters. He had stayed up late many nights writing to her. He told her how much he missed her and how sorry he was. But he was too scared to send them. He thought she would laugh at him or tell the newspapers. He kept them locked away in a desk. Now he realized that she knew he had written them. They both wanted to talk, but they were both too afraid. He turned to another page in the diary. It was from August 10, 1997. Diana wrote that she had decided to stop seeing a man named Dodie. Everyone in the world thought she was in love with him, but she wrote that it wasn't real. She said she only did it to make Charles jealous. She wanted to show him that she could move on with her life, but she said she couldn't really move on. She didn't want to be with anyone else. She only wanted to be with Charles. Charles couldn't believe what he was reading. All the stories in the magazines had been wrong. She wasn't having a big romance. She was just lonely and wanted him back. She wrote about what their life could be like if they just ignored all the royal rules. She wanted them to just be Charles and Diana again. She even wrote a letter to the Queen asking for one more chance to fix her marriage. The next part of the diary was the saddest of all. It was from August 30th, 1997. This was the night before she died. She wrote that she almost called Charles on the phone 3 times that night. She wanted to tell him that she was coming home. She wanted to ask him to try again. But every time she picked up the phone, she got scared. She was worried that he didn't want her anymore. She was worried he had moved on. Charles felt like he couldn't breathe. He remembered that exact night. He was staying at his house in Scotland. He was sitting by the phone, too. He wanted to call her, but he was also too scared. He had no idea she was thinking the same thing. If only one of them had picked up the phone, everything might have been different. He could almost hear her voice in his head. He remembered their wedding day when they were so happy. He remembered her saying she was proud to be his wife. Diana wrote that she was going to end things with Dodie the next day. Then she was going to come home and fight for her marriage one last time. She was terrified he would say no, but she was more scared of never trying. Her last words in the diary were, "I love you, Charles. I pray it's not too late." But we all know that tomorrow never came for Diana. At the very bottom of the box, there was one more envelope. It had big letters on it that said, "Emergency for Charles only." His heart was beating very fast as he opened it. This letter was very scary. Diana wrote that if something happened to her in Paris, she wanted him to know the truth. She said her trip was not what it looked like. She said that 3 weeks ago, someone had contacted her about their secret daughter, Elizabeth Rose. These people knew about the baby she had lost. They were threatening her. They said they would tell the whole world the secret unless she went away forever. Charles's eyes moved quickly across the page. Diana wasn't in Paris for a vacation. She was trying to protect him and their family. These mean people had medical records from the doctor she saw in 1985. They told her that if she didn't leave public life, they would tell everyone that Charles was a mean husband. They wanted to make him look bad. Charles finally understood why she had been acting so strange in her final months. She wasn't trying to cause trouble. She was trying to save him. She was trying to protect the royal family and their sons, William and Harry. She didn't want a big scandal to hurt them. The letter said, "If they silence me, promise you will remember who I really was. Tell our boys that their mother loved their father until the very end." Charles could barely see the words because his eyes were so full of tears. He realized that Diana had died while she was trying to defend her family. She was a hero. Then he found something that really surprised him. It was a letter written in his own handwriting. He didn't remember writing it at first. It was a draft of a letter he had started after their divorce. He must have thrown it away, but somehow Diana found it and kept it. The letter said, "My dearest Diana, I know I have no right to ask you to forgive me. I failed you." He wrote that he was always too scared to tell her how much he loved her. He said she was so bright and full of life that he felt like he wasn't good enough for her. He said he chose someone else because it was safe. But Diana was the one who deserved everything. At the bottom of his own letter, there was a line he had crossed out. It said, "If you ever wanted to try again, I would spend the rest of my life being the husband you deserved." Reading his own words from years ago made Charles feel a huge wave of sadness. It was a love that could have lasted forever, but it was ruined by pride and fear. Night had fully fallen now. The palace was dark and quiet. Charles sat there with all of Diana's things around him. The jewelry box felt like a little time machine. It showed him the man he used to be and the man he wished he had been. He finally understood that everything Diana did in her last year was a way to get back to him. The photos, the news stories, the trips, she was just trying to find her way home to him. She wasn't running away. She was running toward him. Charles slowly put all the letters and the locket back into the box. His hands were still trembling. In the quiet room, he whispered something out loud. He said, "I would have said yes, Diana. If you had come home and asked me to try again, I would have said yes." These were the words he was too proud to say 27 years ago. Now they were finally out in the air, but there was no one there to hear them but the shadows. This story shows us that even kings and queens have hearts that can break. It is a story about two people who loved each other very much, but they let the world get in the middle of them. It is a tragedy, but it is also a very beautiful story of love that never really died. Diana's final gift was the truth, and even though it took a long time to arrive, it finally gave Charles the answers he needed. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up. Share it with your friends and family who still believe in true love. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can hear more stories about the royal family. We want to know what you think. Do you believe Charles and Diana could have been happy if she had come home from Paris? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. We love reading what you have to say. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video. It is amazing to think about how much can change when we finally tell the truth. Charles will never be the same after opening that blue package. He now knows that he was loved until the very end. And even though Diana is gone, her love stays behind in these letters and in the memories of their secret daughter. It is a reminder to all of us to tell the people we love how we feel before it is too late. Don't let pride or fear stop you from being happy. Life is short, even for a king. As Charles walked out of the room that night, he felt a little bit lighter. The secret was out, at least for him. He had the locket in his pocket, close to his heart. He looked at the stars in the sky and thought of Diana and their daughter, Elizabeth Rose. He knew that one day they would all be together again. Until then, he would carry their memory with him every single day. He would try to be the kind of king that Diana would have been proud of. And he would always remember the beautiful girl with the jasmine and rose perfume who never stopped believing in them. The world might always remember the drama and the headlines, but see,